Before the CGIs, flashy gadgets, power upgrades, and collectible gimmicks, there was a shadow from the dark, a lone warrior who stood against darkness. This isn't a review, not a ranking. This is my personal tribute to my first Kamen Rider who brought me into the Rider world and get to know all past riders. Kamen Rider Black, how we decorated my childhood. These are just my 100% pure personal feelings about Kamen Rider Black. Spoiler alert. Yeah, I know this series aired back when Famicom games and floppy disks ruled the earth, but just in case you're time traveling into the world of Kamen Rider Black for the first time, consider this your vintage warning. I promise I'll try to hold back on the spoilers, but no promises if the nostalgia overload kicks in. I was just a kid when I first saw him. I didn't even know what Tokusatsu was. All I knew, there was a man in black armor standing alone fighting monsters. And something about that stuck. No fancy armor changes, just raw determination and pain behind a mask. It felt something I didn't yet have words for. The tone of the series was dark. Gorgoms weren't just villains. They were what happens when control, greed, and manipulation go unchecked, and Kotaro stood right in the middle of that chaos, refusing to fall. Every henshin felt earned, every battle had weight. There's one scene I'll never forget. After defeating the spider monsters, Kotaro walks away. No cheering crowd. He decided to accept his fate. He decided to fight with the power given. The decision to keep the burdens alone. Minami Kotaro wasn't the strongest or a perfect hero, but he was a human. He didn't choose his fate. It was forced upon him. Gorgoms wanted to turn him and Nobuhiko into the Century Kings, mindless and powerful cyborgs to lead the monsters. But he managed to escape. Instead, he became something more, and determined to save Nobuhiko and to protect humanity and the only family he has left, Katsumi-san and Kyoko-chan. The Henshin Pose. He didn't just transform right away. Instead, he fought with his human form, symbolic of humanity's strength will rise to another level when needed. Every time he transformed, it felt like he was burning away his humanity, just to save others. That's why the Henshin sequence hits me deep every single time. As a kid, I just thought it was cool. As an adult, I understand the sacrifice. He fought even when the world gave him nothing. That's why Kamen Rider Black, it's a story that shaped how I see strength. Let's break down Minami Kotaro's outfits and his hair, because his look is a huge part of why he became one of the most iconic Kamen Riders. Stylish, timeless, and effortlessly cool. Kotaro wasn't just a hero, he was a vibe. Minami Kotaro's hair, no crazy styling, just natural cool. Wind often blows through his hair dramatically before a battle. It moves with his intensity. In Black RX, his hair is slightly longer, giving him a more mature, older brother vibe. It shows he's aged emotionally from what he went through in Black. A subtle evolution of the character through style alone. Before the Henshin, before the rider kicks, Kotaro was already cool. He cruised around on his iconic Suzuki GSX R250, a sleek, real-world motorcycle that made the ride through town feel cinematic. And not forgetting his showy helmet. Honestly, even Battlehopper had to respect that. The costume's design. That black suit, still one of the best designs ever. Sleek, organic, alien yet heroic. The Kingstone belt, the way it glowed. Now let's take a moment to appreciate what might be the coolest looking villain in Tokusatsu history, Shadow Moon. From the moment he first appeared, I knew this wasn't just another monster of the week. His design? Pure silver menace. Metallic armor, green eyes, and robotic feels. Those twin sides hidden behind his legs that moves along while he's walking. Not just for show, they're weapons that give him a terrifying edge in battle. And then, there's the blades, tucked behind his elbows. His Kingstone belt is black. It mirrors Kamen Rider Black's suit, but with sharper, darker aesthetics. Where Kotaro looks alive, Nobuhiko looks resurrected. That makes you realize, he wasn't designed just to fight Kamen Rider Black, he was built to end him. Akizuki Nobuhiko, Shadow Moon, the fallen brother, the eternal rival. He was Kotaro's adoptive brother, Katsumi's boyfriend, Kyoko's beloved big brother. He and Kotaro grew up like real siblings. They even celebrated their birthdays together because they were born on the same day, the day when an eclipse happened. That's the main reason why they were chosen by Gorgom. Kotaro was adopted by Professor Akizuki after Gorgom killed his parents. Both Nobuhiko and Kotaro were chosen by Gorgom to become Century Kings, warriors to succeed the Gorgom Empire. Kotaro was turned into Black Sun. Nobuhiko was meant to become Shadow Moon. But while Kotaro escaped before the transformation completed by the help of his adopted father, Professor Akizuki, Nobuhiko did not. He was cocooned, brainwashed, and stripped of his human soul. When he emerged, he was no longer the brother Kotaro knew. That rivalry, it was tragic. Two chosen ones but one fate. He becomes the new creation king. I can feel the dilemma to fight the person whom he swore to save with his life by protecting humanity. Because he wasn't just anyone, he was family. Shadow Moon is cold, emotionless, and deadly. Silver armor, green eyes, and a haunting presence. Controls the Satan Saber and commands dark Gorgom forces. He rarely shouts or rages. He's calm and terrifying in his stillness. But beneath that armor, there's a question that haunts me. Is any part of Nobuhiko still in there? His existence torments everyone. Katsumi still loves the man behind the mask. Kyoko cries for her brother, even when facing his monstrous form. Kotaro hesitates every time they fight, because he's not battling a monster, he's fighting his brother. Their battles are legendary, not just for the action, but for the emotion. Every rider kick is heavy with regret. In the end, Shadow Moon falls, but Kotaro doesn't celebrate, he mourns. Because when Shadow Moon died, so did the last piece of Nobuhiko. The opening theme, sung by the hero himself, Kurata Tetsuo, was Minami Kotaro, so hearing his voice in the song adds emotional depth and authenticity. And it feels personal. Listening to this score, it moved me to the core, immediately creating a sense of danger and determination. It reflects the tone of the series, dark, tragic, and powerful. Just listening to this song is enough to lift my spirit up to go through my day. The ending theme, Long, Long Ago, 20th Century, performed by Sakai Norio, a melancholic farewell. Unlike the opening, this ending theme is gentle, sad, and reflective, like a good night song for a tired hero. It reflects Kotaro's loneliness, his regrets, and his memories. Listening to it back then felt like a farewell song for another episode, but this song hits me even deeper when I listen to it now as an adult. People still had warmth in their hearts, back when the sea still had a cobalt blue color. Good old times, long, long ago, 20th century. Nostalgic times, long, long ago, 20th century. The soundtrack and BGM of Kamen Rider Black, composed by Kawamura Eiji. The soundtrack brilliantly fits every single scenes. It absorbs me deeply into the scenes, dark, suspenseful, tragic, heroic, calming, loneliness, hope, action, happy times, and more. Battle Hopper. the living bike with the heart. Battle Hopper is not a regular motorcycle. It's a sentient machine created by Gorgom. It can think, feel, and choose who to follow. Even though it was made for the Century King, it chose Kotaro Minami out of will. It reacts emotionally and sometimes moves on its own to save Kotaro. Battle Hopper does more than carry Kotaro. It fights with him, runs into enemies, sometimes even arrives on its own when Kotaro is in danger. It's like a silent bodyguard. I'm not just watching a man with a bike, I'm watching a duo. When Shadow Moon or Bilginia tries to steal it, Battle Hopper resists, proving that its bond with Kotaro is more than programming. Battle Hopper can regenerate and heal himself from damages. Road Sector, the high-speed armor breaker. The Road Sector is Minami Kotaro's high-speed combat motorcycle, developed by Gorgom's former scientist. The mechanical engineer, Daimon Yoichi. It has armor-breaking capability, meaning Kotaro can use it to charge straight through enemy monsters and their barriers. Think of it like a cross between a motorcycle and a missile. Sleek, lethal, and unstoppable. Compared to Battle Hopper, which looks rugged and wild, Road Sector looks like technology unleashed, fast, furious, and built to hit hard. When Kotaro shouts "Attack Shield," forming a shield and spearhead, the engine surges, and the bike accelerates like a bullet. He charges through the enemy or breaking through walls. The camera often shows this with extreme speed lines, slow-mo impacts, and explosions right after the pass. It symbolizes science used for justice, in contrast to Gorgom's use of science for corruption. It shows that Kotaro's allies may be few, but they're capable and willing to fight back in the shadows. While Road Sector is fast, tactical, and built for armor breaking, Battle Hopper is instinctual, bonded, and raw. Road Sector, weapon. Battle Hopper, partner. In a way, it's like comparing a sword to a loyal wolf. Katsumi-san and Kyoko-chan, the two central supporting characters in Kamen Rider Black, who brought warmth, heart, and real emotional stakes to Kotaro Minami's otherwise lonely path. They're not riders, but they're fighters in their own way, and their presence made Kotaro's journey more human. Katsumi is Nobuhiko's love interest, and a close friend of Kotaro. She was part of the peaceful circle of youth surrounding the Akazuki family. Her character represents lost love and loyalty in the face of darkness. Kyoko is Nobuhiko's younger sister, and also close to Kotaro. She's cheerful, innocent, and deeply affected by the trauma of losing her brother. She often becomes target of Gorgom's plan to speed up Shadow Moon awakening process. She clings to hope. Her memories of Nobuhiko are pure and untarnished. She sees Kotaro as a big brother figure and safety net. Her character symbolizes the innocence that the fight threatens to destroy, offers warmth and a reason for Kotaro to keep fighting. Her presence grounds the emotional stakes. Kotaro never once told Katsumi or Kyoko that he was Kamen Rider Black. He carried the burden alone, not to hide from them, but to protect them. And yet, they knew. They see it. How Kotaro's expression changed when they see the news about Gorgom, and he rushed out without a word, then getting home with bruises and injury. They understand. He was only protecting them. They didn't need a confession, because family knows. They could feel the weight he carried, and they loved him all the more for it. It shows the strength of Katsumi and Kyoko's love. They knew the truth and chose not to pressure him, only to support him. Kotaro never says, "I'm Kamen Rider. I'm the one fighting Gorgom." But Katsumi knew. Kyoko knew. They just stood by him, trust him, believe in him, and that's why I'll never forget these characters. Gorgom's three high priests, Darom, Barawom, and Bishum. They are the three ancient beings who serve directly under the Creation King, acting as Gorgom's spiritual and strategic leaders. Their presence wasn't loud, it was ominous. They didn't scream threats, and their lair settings was so creepy. Upon their sacrificing their stones to awaken Shadow Moon, the the dying high priests undergo a transformation into new physical forms called the Grand Mutants, reborn as Shadow Moon's emissaries. Monsters of the Week. Gorgoms' grotesque horrors. Each week, a new terror rose from the shadows, a Gorgom mutant. While some might view Monster of the Week episodes as filler, but to me, they served a purpose. Every episode monster pushed Kotaro to adapt and grow with different mysteries and hardness, made every week so refreshing. They built the dark, mysterious tone of the series by showing Gorgom's widespread influence. Every monster defeated was a step toward understanding Gorgom's evil. Sword Saint Bilgenia. Sword Saint Bilgenia was imprisoned and sealed in a coffin by the Creation King 30,000 years ago. Much later, when the Gorgom High Priests repeatedly failed to retrieve the Kingstone from Kotaro, the Creation King ordered them to release Bilgenia. From that moment on, he became a thorn in the side of both Kamen Rider Black and Gorgom itself. Bilgenia constantly interfered with the High Priest's plans. He wanted to be the one to defeat Kamen Rider Black with his own hands. Not for Gorgom, but to prove himself. Bilgenia gave Kamen Rider Black one of his toughest early challenges. Fought strategically, not like a mindless beast. Nearly defeated him in a few fights, making him a real threat. Where most villains were obstacles, Bilgenia was a rival. He forced Kotaro to grow as a warrior. Despite his strength and charisma, Bilgenia's arrogance sealed his fate. The Gorgom priests couldn't control him. When Shadow Moon was reborn, Bilgenia was deemed unnecessary. He was ultimately destroyed by Shadow Moon. The fight ended before it even began. With an effortless slash, Shadow Moon erased Bilgenia, not just from the battlefield, but from the story. I remember back then it was a big discussion among my friends in school. If Bilgenia was that powerful, could be destroyed so effortlessly, then Shadow Moon would be something far more dangerous than Kotaro was about to face his deadliest enemy yet. Not just a rival, but his own brother, reborn in darkness. The Creation King, the supreme ruler of Gorgom. He never appears in full. In a weakened state, he only appears as a gigantic, heart-shaped organ surrounded by darkness and eerie light. Every 50,000 years, the existing Creation King dies. When this time draws near, Gorgom chooses two candidates to convert into Century Kings. Then forced to fight each other, the winner claims both Kingstones and becomes the new Creation King. Kamen Rider Black wasn't just a show. It was a journey of tragedy, friendship, betrayal, and unstoppable resolve. Through the darkness of Gorgom's grip and the pain of losing the ones he loved, Kotaro stood tall. It's been decades since it aired, but the impact to me, still powerful. One thing that always stuck with me, Kotaro didn't rely on flashy weapons, just his fists, just his kicks. Every fight was raw, fueled by pain, justice, and sheer willpower. He fought like a man, cornered by fate, and somehow, that made every punch feel heavier, every rider kick feel like the heartbeat of resistance. That's why Kamen Rider Black stands tall. If you grew up with him, maybe you understand why I keep coming back to Black. The action, the music, the designs, and of course the memories. Now, keep in mind, everything I said in this video, 100% my personal opinion with pure emotion, seasoned with nostalgia, maybe just a little bias. Kamen Rider Black hit me harder than a rider kick to the feels. These are just my personal takes, so don't henshin rage in the comments, okay? I'm not saying Kamen Rider Black is the greatest of all time, but I am saying I'd probably fight a Gorgom priest just to re-watch it again for the first time. If you felt the same or totally different, let me know in the comments. This has been a personal tribute from a lifelong fan. If you like this, subscribe for more, and let me ask you, who was your first rider? And next time, we might just ride into the sunlight with Black RX, or fly into space with Space Sheriff Gaban. Till then,